18-year-old Daisy cruised down Bray Road in her blue Plymouth Sundance, a quiet and rural route in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Faint gray streaks marked her car as it passed by brown, harvested fields and thinning forests with spots of evergreen. The date was Halloween, and darkness blanketed the surroundings. With one hand on the steering wheel, Daisy fiddled with the radio dial, searching for a grunge song among the staticky stations. She was getting ready for a traditional Halloween night of trick-or-treating with one of her girlfriends. They had arranged for Daisy to pick up her friend. Daisy was grooving to the music, her hand tapping the steering wheel in rhythm with the electric guitar and powerful vocals on the radio. At 18 years old, she felt pretty good. She reached into the cupholder for some fruity candies, enjoying them as she hummed along with the song. The headlights of the Sundance cut through the dark night. As they passed more fields, trees, and a few isolated farmhouses, Daisy suddenly felt a jolt under her right tire. Her car lifted into the air without warning and then thudded back onto the road. Startled from her musical trance, Daisy quickly hit the brakes. She put the Sundance in park and opened the driver's side door, stepping out into the crisp Halloween night. What had she hit? She prayed it wasn't an innocent animal, and even more so, not a person in harm's way. The car's headlights cast bright yellow beams into the dark night. Daisy proceeded cautiously around the Sundance, her steps slow and filled with trepidation as she approached the source of the alarming thump that had lifted her car. As she turned the corner of her car's trunk, her eyes remained wide open, her mouth hanging agape in anxious anticipation. She surveyed the area with darting eyes, but there was nothing beneath the tires or immediately behind the car. Her gaze shifted back to where she had come from, but still nothing. Daisy tilted her head and ventured a few steps onto the cracked road. And then she spotted it. A figure was slowly emerging from the inky, damp darkness, moving closer to her. Was it a wounded man? Had she hit a person? Gradually, the figure quickened its pace, limping as it approached. Its silhouette became clearer, revealing a massive, muscular body towering at about 7 feet in height. It was covered in dark fur. As it drew nearer, its features became discernible. Daisy saw its elongated snout, lined with jagged canine teeth and a black nose at the tip. It had sharp, piercing eyes, and a pair of long, triangular ears that sprouted from its wolf-like head. The creature's sinewy chest rose and fell as it now raced toward her on its hind legs. Its thick arms were raised, and it waved its menacing claws. Daisy stood frozen, and a pungent, foul odor, a mix of wet dog and old urine, filled the air. Gadara! It growled in a deep, guttural voice as it steadily approached. Daisy's head shook with fear as she rushed back to her Sundance, slamming the car door shut amidst the rain, finding the gear shift and forcefully shifting it into drive. The tires screeched on the wet road before finally gaining traction, propelling the little blue hatchback forward across the quiet Midwestern road. In her panic, Daisy forgot to fasten her seatbelt. She jolted and screamed as a heavy crash resounded from the trunk, causing the front of the car to leap into the air. A thunderous howl pierced through her fear. Glancing into the rear-view mirror, she locked eyes with the hairy creature. It stared back, its unblinking eyes and jagged teeth visible in its gaping mouth. As it struggled to hold onto the slippery trunk, Daisy swerved, and with a screech of metal tearing and scraping, the beast slid from the trunk and tumbled into a grassy ditch. It snarled, its massive frame heaving, while Daisy sped away in her Plymouth Sundance, leaving the creature behind. Shortly after 8 p.m., Daisy screeched to a halt in front of her friend's house, the terrifying encounter replaying in her mind. She waited in her car, keeping the yellow headlights on for safety. After taking a few deep breaths to calm herself, she turned off the car's engine, opened the blue door of her Plymouth Sundance, and cautiously stepped out into the drizzling night. She walked up her friend's pathway and onto the porch, a journey she had calmly made countless times before. But tonight, she moved with urgency, casting anxious glances back down the dimly lit driveway. All she could see was the rain-glistened orange glow from the pumpkin decorations adorning her friend's front yard. Daisy extended one finger, The nail painted the color of a pumpkin and pressed the doorbell, which chimed with its classic two-note sound. It didn't take long for Kim to swing the door open, already dressed in her costume and munching on something sweet, her mouth wide open. With a sly, mischievous grin, Kim ushered Daisy inside. "Hey, Doctor, come on in. I'm almost done with my costume. Want a Tootsie Roll?" Then she noticed Daisy's flushed cheeks. "Is everything all right? You didn't get into any tricks without me, did you?" "Kim, you won't believe what happened to me." The two made their way up the stairs to Kim's room, where her makeup stand was cluttered with half-empty containers of face paint and dirty brushes. The room smelled of cheap perfume, and the sound of more grunge music filled the air. An apricot-colored light bathed the space, casting a warm glow, and the walls were adorned with posters of rock stars and handsome movie actors. "So," Kim inquired, "what's the story?" "On my way here," Daisy began, as they both settled on Kim's bed. "I was driving out of Elkhorn and turned onto Bray Road. Everything was fine, and then I felt something under one of my tires. It even lifted the car into the air with this terrible thud." Kim leaned in. "Intrigued? Huh?" Daisy took a deep breath. I stopped and got out to see what I hit. I wasn't sure if I'd hit someone or not." Kim, propped up on her outstretched arm, continued to fixate on Daisy. Daisy went on. "Then I checked underneath my car and behind it, and I couldn't see anything. So I looked back in the direction I came from and saw this thing approaching. I thought it might be a guy I hit, but then I got a better look at it." Daisy leaned over, placing her hands on her knees for support. "This thing, walking on its hind legs, suddenly starts running at me. It looked like a werewolf, had to be about 7 feet tall, and its teeth were all crooked and yellow. It smelled like wet dog and pee." She turned her head to Kim, who stared at her with wide eyes. "I jumped back into my car and sped away, but I felt this massive crash on my trunk. In the rearview mirror, I saw that thing staring at me with its cold, golden eyes, baring its snout filled with sharp teeth. I think it wanted to, have me for dinner." Daisy shivered like paint the road with my insides. "When I swerved, and because of the rain, the thing fell off, tearing through my trunk with its claws. I can still hear the metal ripping." Kim continued to stare, her eyes never leaving Daisy's. "Do you think it might have followed you here?" Daisy shook her head. "I don't think so. I floored it, and even if it tried its hardest, I don't think it could have kept up." A faint grin began to form at the corner of Kim's mouth. "We have to go back and see this thing." Daisy was puzzled. "What are you talking about?" "It's Halloween, right?" Kim declared. "Maybe this is when the werewolf comes out to trick or treat. Everyone's entitled to one good scare on Halloween." Daisy looked at Kim, bewildered. "Kim, are you serious?" "Look, Dor, I know this thing freaked you out," Kim began. "The claw marks are on my trunk. Maybe that's all the proof you need," Daisy replied. "But we were planning to go trick-or-treating in Elkhorn anyway. And if you manage to get away from this werewolf thing in your car, then if we see it, you can hit the gas and it won't be able to turn us into its Halloween snack. Even though we'd be quite tasty," Kim teased Doris, a smirk on her face in the dimly lit room filled with music. "So, what you're saying is if we speed away, it can't get to us. Is that it, Kim?" Daisy sat up. "Exactly, Dar. Now you've got a story to tell, and maybe I can have one too?" The two girls stood by Kim's mirror, finishing up their Halloween makeup, adjusting their costumes, and indulging in fruity and chocolatey candies. Then they headed downstairs and out the front door into the drizzling Halloween night. "Have fun, girls?" Kim's mother called from the kitchen as they closed the door. Daisy guided Kim to the back of her car. "This thing really got to you, Dar." Kim marveled at the deep gashes in the blue trunk of the Sundance. "Yes, it did. It's not a joke, Kim," Daisy said firmly. "Do you understand that?" "Hey, come on," Kim reassured her. "I'll protect you." The two costumed girls climbed into the Sundance, and Daisy turned the key in the ignition. As they sped toward Bray Road, Kim's neighborhood faded into the distance, and long stretches of solitary two-lane highway stretched out before them. Daisy bit her bottom lip as she turned onto Bray Road, with Kim eagerly scanning the dark surroundings in the hopes of catching a glimpse of the creature. The yellow headlights cast shimmering reflections on the wet leaves and glistening asphalt. Raindrops fell like slender spears from the dark sky, and the two girls ventured further into this eerie realm, moving away from the safety and comfort of the blue Sundance. Enveloped by the obscurity of the night and drenched by the relentless rain, the road ahead seemed to possess an otherworldly magnetism, drawing them closer to the source of its ominous power. Dimly lit farmhouses slid by, forlorn bushes retreated, and gaunt trees seemed to reach down as if attempting to seize them. They left these elements behind as they crept along the cracked and rain-soaked asphalt. Doris's grip on the steering wheel tightened, the headlights now revealing the grassy ditch. Something caught her attention. "Kim!" on the side of the road. She whispered urgently. A large, dark figure crouched there, partly hidden by the bushes. As they approached, the mysterious figure rose onto its hind legs and thrust out its face, its triangular ears perking up. Daisy instinctively started to press the gas pedal. "Slow down," Kim exclaimed. "I need to see it." The Sundance gradually slowed to a crawl along the cracked road, its taillights casting a red glow behind them. "Stop!" Kim yelled and craned her neck to look backward. To their astonishment, it didn't give chase. Instead, the creature, illuminated in red by the taillights, moved slowly onto the road, its bent hind legs supporting its furry, muscular body. It bared its crooked, yellow teeth, snarling at them with an intent and aware gaze as it stood on Bray Road.